welcome to our second review of the evening. And when Galix here will be reviewing Sydney Hunter and the Curse of the Mayan, also known as Gamester 81's Sydney Hunter and the Curse of the Mayan. For those who might not know who Gamester 81 is, he is a popular YouTuber who reviews a lot of classic and vintage games and accessories and all that stuff. Not just like the typical Nintendo stuff. He also does a lot of Atari and ColecoVision, stuff that's a bit more off the beaten path of retro reviews. And somewhere along the way, he got into developing games, a series of games, as it turns out.
This isn't the only things that Collector Vision has done, but apparently there are like two or three previous games in the Sydney Hunter franchise, and the form in which those games exist is as actual like physical homebrew cartridges for the ColecoVision, the Super Nintendo, and something else. This is the first one that is actually on a modern platform. And it's still a very NES-looking style game, and honestly, as you can probably tell from looking at it, the idea of this is basically that it's an Indiana Jones platformer, and that's pretty much good enough, as a point for the game to exist.
Okay, this game is Pitfall. This game is emulating Pitfall, specifically Pitfall, the Mayan Adventure.
Did Pitfall have like actual combat in it though?
Mayan Adventure did.
Okay.
I think Super Pitfall might have had that, but Super Pitfall was also god awful.
Because you do get weapons in this. You start out with a whip that's like a weapon, and then later on you get a spear that has a little more range, and you can use it to attack in the water. And then you get a boomerang that has a significantly longer range but is slower. And that's all the ones I got. There might be other ones. And you pick up bombs and stuff, and the story of the game is he's going to find a thing because like the Mayan calendar says that the calendar is going to end, and it's the 5 days at the end of the calendar that are bad luck, and one of the Mayan sun gods has had enough of this crap and is going to try and do bad stuff, including bringing some of the other gods back to life to make trouble. So while you're in the first level, at the end, he breaks up the calendar and steals the 4 colored idol things in the main room. So the main collectible in the game is crystal skulls. In each temple you go to from the main room, they're located all over, but you teleport, I guess. There are a number of crystal skulls, and like the power stars in Mario, you use those to unlock other things. However, they are consumed when you use them to unlock a level. And after going a significant chunk through the game, I never had enough that I had a choice of where to go next. The number it takes to unlock a thing is always significantly different so that you can't do it. You do have to also go back and do previous levels to get things that you've missed. So starting in the second temple, you'll see obsidian blocks that say they can't be broken unless you have a special item on you. I haven't found a place to go back to for this, but in the second or third one, there's a little block that has the power to generate ancient Mayan Yoku blocks, which are the disappearing and reappearing blocks from Mega Man. It works exactly like that. It has a good number of jokes about Mayans having advanced Stone Age technology and shit. So the tablet they have Claytronic tablets and stuff that they joke about. And also at the beginning of the game, you can't understand what they talk about except for they're pointing out this seashell thing. And once you get the seashell, you can talk to them. And then if you go back to the first guy, he's like, "Oh no, yeah, we can all speak your language. It's just we won't talk to people who don't have the shell." So I thought that was funny. It controls well. but the demandingness of the platforming, and you don't attack super fast even with the whip, which is the fastest weapon, make it so that it gets pretty difficult first. And like some Metroidvanias, usually the more annoying ones, there are places where you have to go loop through a whole big thing to get back to where you were before. Like there are two paths, and there's something on each path that you want, and you can't really get both of them in the same run, so that was kind of annoying. Yeah, a lot of the bosses, and there are other hazards and stuff that are instant kill, and you have to like really be careful with your positioning and jumping to time those. It helps if you use the ranged weapons once you get them to like clear out enemies that might impede your platforming. The first time through a level, there are save statues in the different temples. You don't only save when you go back to the hub world idol area, but you when you quit the game, you lose everything until or when you quit the game or want to go back to the idol room, which you can do it pretty much any time, I think, after the first stage. You lose everything since the last time you saved, but if you've already cleared that stage, you get to keep the stuff, so it does make it easier to go back and get stuff you missed. Yeah, like the thing that I was thinking about, those particularly demanding, the gatekeeper bosses, which are those some of the pictures here, you can see like a skull with an open jaw on the wall that's shooting something. A lot of them, their big attack is like a one-hit kill or something, so you have to, and they don't make it. You can only jump 2 blocks high, so you have to time running up to them, attacking, and then getting back to something that's high enough to not get hurt. Which can be, you're not super fast, but it does control smoothly. I feel like I'm a little bit scatterbrained. Do you guys have any questions?
Not especially.
Me neither.
You can carry potions, of which there are green ones and yellow ones at minimum. The green ones heal 1 heart. The yellow ones heal, it's either all or like 3. You start out with 3 hearts. You can buy a Mayan meal from one of the places in the hub world to get a new heart, and then presumably a few times through the game that will happen again, but it doesn't happen like right away. Kind of like how it works in Shovel Knight, where you can get meal tickets and then, but only at a certain pace. You can pick up bombs, which can do damage to enemies, but it's really hard to do that because they're slow. But they can also be used to destroy blocks. There are a lot of destroyable blocks in walls that you have to keep an eye out for, because some of those have colored keys or skulls in them that you will need. And there are, I think, 4 different colors of keys. I've never really been in a situation where I had like a ton of the same color of key and different choices of where to use them, and each key is consumed when it's used. But I suppose later on maybe they do a little bit more interesting stuff with that. I don't know. Overall, I had a lot of fun with it, and this is, how much is it? Like, I think it. So I looked this up and I forgot.
It's $20.
It is 20.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's asking too much for this. It's a small independent game, but it's like a full game. It's not like a bite-sized thing. There's certainly plenty of stuff to do. I only had gotten I'd fought 2 of the gods and gotten 1 of the 4 things back when I quit. So I was like a quarter of the way through, and that was still after like several hours, although some of that was beating my head against a boss that was very frustrating. So, and yeah, and you get various other power-ups and stuff that you can then bring back to other areas. Like there are apparently there's actually another neat thing is that on CollectorVision's website, I think is where I found it. There is like an old school style. Yes, it's on CollectorVision's website. There is an instruction manual for the Switch version that's like an old school game manual.
Neat.
And apparently this game is compatible with the... It's not compatible with the Super Nintendo Switch controller, but it is compatible with the NES Switch controller, for which I think it still has 2 shoulder buttons, so you can cycle... mostly it uses the face buttons and either stick or directional pad, and then the 2 pause buttons to go. One brings you to an item selection screen, and the other one brings you to like the options screen. It uses the shoulder buttons and triggers normally to quick cycle between your weapons and items. And of the face buttons, by default, one of them is jump. The bottom one is jump. The left and right ones are both attack, whichever one you prefer. And the top one is use items. I believe on the NES version, you use its jump and attack, and then up and attack is use item. So yeah, it's compatible with that for added authenticity of feeling like an NES game, which it feels like a really good NES game, not like one of the crappy NES games. Like, I've seen some comparisons to Shovel Knight. I even kind of made one, and I feel like that's pretty fair, even if Shovel Knight is a little bit more my style. So yeah, overall, I recommend checking it out, honestly, if you're into platformy, it's kind of a proto Metroidvania. I wouldn't say it's a full Metroidvania, but it's pretty close.
Okay then. So that'll about do it for Curse of the Mayan here. Be sure to tune in after the break, as Twilight Winter will be taking the lead on our review of Super Ledge Hop Double Laser.